Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us at Dignified Learning for another one of our webinars. So excited to be here. My name is Matt, and with me today,
I'm Emily.
we are the co-founders of Dignified Learning, and we're so excited to be sharing with you more content on a really important topic today. We're focusing on custom e-learning and the importance of custom training and what it means to you, your organization, and your learners.
Yeah, so much of our brand is about recognizing what's painful about training and what's joyful about learning and trying to make training more joyful.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right into our content today.
The end of our webinar, we have a freebie as always that you can access on our website at dignifiedlearning.com, and it will compile some resources for you, give you some ideas on where to get started with custom training if that is something that you're interested in.
And as always, we're trying to give away as much as we can for free. So if you have any topics or interests that you want to share with us that we can focus on future webinars or add to our free resource library, please reach out, fill out our form on our website. We'd love to hear from you.
So this is always a great question. We love to do this when we go to conferences and speak, and we really try to ask our audience, if you could start completely over, what would you want your e-learning to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the questions that this kind of dovetails into is what comes to mind when you think about existing e learning? What are the things that you wish you could retain? And what are the things you wish you could just totally start over, change that weren't even part of the e learning strategy, right? And so we get lots of feedback on this. And so if you have anything in mind and you're one of our live viewers right now, we would love to hear from you. Please use the chat functionality, and we have a moderator who's going to be collecting that feedback. So please engage, but this is such an important question. What would we do if we were to start over without those preconceived notions of e-learning?
We know this is an abstract idea. A lot of us don't know because we've only seen it done one way, and we're going to talk through some concrete examples that some of our clients have actually used to enhance their training for their organization, for their students, for their clients, and you'll get to see how they used custom e-learning.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the elements here, we don't have to talk through all of them on this slide, but the ones that really stand out to me are built with the organizational goals in mind, right? There's so much to talk about in e-learning and training. And if we start with our needs first, not the widgets and nuts and bolts of the what and how, but the why. Why are we building this training? Who's going to be taking the training? And if it's successful, what does that look like? What does that change in our culture, in our outcomes? And if it's not successful, what could we anticipate there as well?
Absolutely. And if you start by thinking about what does the organization need? What does the end look like? You are going to walk through each of these other components as they pertain to custom training. So you're going to be thinking about what could we do to increase the engagement of our specific learners? How could we respect the knowledge our learners are bringing to the table, right? I mean, how many of us have been to trainings and you're kind of instantly turned off when the presenter comes in and starts talking to you as if you have absolutely no understanding of prior content and information pertaining to your profession, right?
What an important thing that we can overcome in e-learning that is difficult to do in person is to have a branching experience and allow the learner to recognize where they're at in their knowledge and where they'd like to go. That's something that we can do unique to e-learning that's really difficult to do in person.
Yep. All right, so we first want to talk about, just for a moment, what is the problem with traditional e-learning? A lot of us have kind of a visceral reaction sometimes when we think about online learning. What are some of the things that come to mind that we've heard?
Oh my gosh. It's one moment in time. We have to click next a million times and hope we get it. Most of the time when we think about e-learning, we're thinking about videos that are playing and hoping that we're staying on track with the content that's being delivered, right? So we're watching videos and we're it's the challenge is that we have to imagine what to do with this information, And oftentimes it's really passive experience. We're going to, play e-learning and let it happen in the background because we're really going to focus on something else just to get through
Absolutely.
it.
And the way we articulate that from our lens as experts in e learning is most training, when it is designed specifically for adult learners, is composed with an emphasis on the information, not on the learner's needs, right? Not necessarily on how the information can be presented in the most conducive way to learning. And that's something that we do really well when we talk about custom e-learning.
Yeah, so here are the things that we hear from our clients and that we've experienced ourselves on the left-hand side. Death by PowerPoint, too much information, too fast, and if you didn't get it when the training happened, sorry, good luck. Maybe you get a slide deck to refer back to, but there's not a whole lot of substance after the training's occurred.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about solutions as they pertain to custom e-learning, you know, by nature, e-learning is more self-paced, but the ability not only to start and stop a training as you need to, but the ability to replay content, the ability to pause and reflect, the ability to revisit training in the moment as you are completing a task in the real world, all of those things make e-learning really relevant if you structure it in the right way.
So why does custom e-learning matter? What the emphasis here is, why does custom e-learning, right? What makes it custom and why does that difference bring to life the training and have so much value? Why does it carry so much weight in your organization as opposed to just picking out a training that already exists or sending out some YouTube videos or something that doesn't specifically apply to you? What's the big jump? Why does it matter?
Absolutely. So, we're going to talk about four key examples today of how organizations have used custom e learning to address their organizational culture, to represent work roles that are individual to different positions within the organization, how organizations have had a vision for wanting to accomplish a goal that they weren't really sure how to make come to fruition without e learning. And then we're going to talk through some specific challenging situations that clients have represented in e-learning as a way to get that application piece like we're talking about. So this first example is a short video we can play for you, but when we're talking about organizational culture, we had a client come to us and say, diversity and inclusion is a training topic. It's not just compliance, it's really important to who we are. In this case, they were a labor union. And it wasn't just about presenting the theory of diversity and inclusion and why it's relevant and the
Mm.
outcomes it can have on an organization. They really wanted to bring home the message on why it mattered to their individual learners, to their long term success as an organization, and they wanted to make sure that they were framing it through that lens. So we can kind of watch a few
Yeah,
snippets
let's do
and
that.
see an actual video that they helped us put together for them.
So now that we know what diversity is, why are we talking about diversity? And how does it relate to the IUE CWA? It's important that we talk about diversity because we have an increasingly diverse population in IUE CWA represented facilities. We have members from all over the world, from various religions and cultural backgrounds, a membership that is diverse in age, race, gender, ability, language, sexual orientation, and more. Some people in these diverse populations don't feel involved or valued. If we don't reach out to these populations, we won't have our membership engaged in the work that we do or supporting the union. The more people who are involved and supportive of the union, the stronger we are.
So again, that's just one video out of their training, but it really helped frame and set the tone for why it was relevant for them. So I would just challenge you to think about any kind of pre-packaged training. If you could rewrite the why does this matter? What's the rationale for training? What would that look like for your organization? Another topic we really focus on, and it often seems like it might be a detail, but it's much more significant than that. And that is when you're building custom e-learning, you can think about individual work roles within your organization and target those individual learners based on what they do day in and day out inside of your organization. So when we say work roles, we want your learners to be represented in the course that they're consuming, right? If you are a dentist office, then you shouldn't be taking a course that looks like it was designed for construction workers and vice versa. But beyond that, there's more kind of beneath the surface than just representation, and that has to do with what is the nature of the content that individuals in different roles are consuming. I know you're really passionate about this one.
Well, yeah, this has come up throughout my entire career, which is, hey, I sat through this tech training, but now that I'm back to my office, I'm back to my classroom, I'm back to my job, wherever the learner has returned to, they go, I don't really know what to do with the training I just took. It was great. I sat there, I thought I got it, but now that I'm back in my job, how do I apply these skills? What am I supposed to do specifically to support the way I work? That is the value specifically of custom tech training. There's tons and tons of great free tech training out into the world. The value, though, when we get involved and start working at that role base or that individual base, is to support their goals, their outcomes, and really show them how to use the tools in a specific way, in a really targeted way that's going to support the way they work and what they're going to do. There is so much stress and emotion when it comes to using tech as a professional. People get overwhelmed. There's always one more thing we're being asked to do. And custom tech training is to synthesize those ideas and create a structure for the individual or for the work role that is so specific, it cuts all that other noise out so that we don't go to bed at night wondering what we didn't get to. What's that notification I probably missed? It's that kind of level of confidence in using tools. And that is so important that we're creating a culture that supports the tools and supports the investment so that the organization isn't wasting their money and isn't wasting their employees' time.
So what does that look like on a really practical level if you wanted to make a custom tech training? Well, if you, let's say, need an Excel training, your CFO and your administrative assistant are going to be using that tool very differently. So they shouldn't be sitting through the same Excel training. So we can target, specific learning objectives to different groups. And you can also target those specific tasks. And here are just some examples that we've worked with clients on. So how do I submit an expense report using Excel inside my organization if I'm in the sales department? How do I name a file and organize it so that everybody else on my team knows where to find it and knows what the file is by looking at the title? Those really practical everyday pain points that cause us frustration and a lot of inefficiency.
Yeah, and this is many times such an emotional topic because using these technical tools are so personal to us, right? In the nature that we try and structure our day, do our jobs professionally, deliver the best results we can as individuals and as teammates. And if we're not getting into that level when we deliver tech training, you are asking your learner, you're asking those that are participating in the training to create their own structure for this. And that is the meat of what we're talking about. That's the outcomes. And if we're not defining those and we're not supporting those in the training process, you're asking the learner to do that on their own. And it's something most of us just can't do. It's so hard to create that structure independently just based on a training you took. And so that's the magic. That's the power we're talking about.
Yep. So another great solution. I know you're really passionate about this one as well, but one of the really unique challenges that we were presented in working with a local juvenile justice center actually was that they wanted to provide e-learning to their students, and they had some very specific challenges pertaining to security. You want to talk us through what those were?
Yeah, so you're probably in an organization that's not a juvenile justice center, but if you are, you know the unique security requirements there. And lots of organizations have unique security requirements. And so, one of the great things about dignified learning is our ability to meet that need and show up with an e learning solution, an e learning platform that is compliant with the environment you're working within. And so we were able to deliver a custom solution for students in juvenile detention and rehab to consume really high quality content that they couldn't get to otherwise. And so, if you're an organization that has very specific security needs, we're here to talk to you about that because we're really excited to solve problems that other e-learning companies aren't solving in the security platform space. And so for us, we were able to open up doors for young people who really needed to have access to this content and weren't able to in any other method. And so again, just this idea that, oh, we've gone shopping, or we've asked vendors, or we've tried to find something that's going to work for us and we just can't find it. Well, call us. We really want to talk to you about that because in this world, there's so many different IT requirements depending on your platform, depending on the way you work, and depending on what data you expect to get back. Those are all things that we love to talk about and problem solve.
Well, and what I love about this specific use case for custom e-learning is they were really looking for a two-prong approach. One was platform. The other was that they were paying, tens of thousands of dollars multiple times a year trying to bring in vocational instructors to come in and train their students so their students could be college and career ready and could earn those credentials for graduation. And it just wasn't a sustainable model. They really needed e-learning so that anytime a student needed to take a training, it was cost effective and they could do that on their own time. So we actually built for them vocational curriculum for driver's ed, for retail, for some really specific needs they had. But that is just something that continues to allow them to provide such high quality education at a really cost effective price point.
Yeah.
So this is one of our favorites. We work with a lot of nonprofits. We're very proud of that. And, all nonprofits that we are working with have some form of volunteer training that they need to provide. And we know that e-learning can solve some basic challenges pertaining to that, such as, how do you deliver training at any time and without having everybody in one room at one time. But when we sat down to really build out their custom e-learning, we took not only the information they were sharing in person, and figured out how to present that online, but we also talked to them about some really specific challenges volunteers had once they went out into the field, right? So I've gotten my training, I have the foundation, and like Matt was saying earlier, once I leave the training, what do I actually do when I have to go encounter a real human and ask them,
Yeah.
to support the organization?
And oftentimes when we get in to work with a nonprofit, when it comes to e-learning, specifically with volunteers, it is cost prohibitive to purchase a traditional learning management system. To pay for an individual license for every volunteer, the price just skyrockets. And so we saw that problem in the marketplace and said, there's a better way to do this. And so we're delivering e-learning in some non-traditional ways so that volunteers can access that without our nonprofit partners having a seat cost. And that has opened up a lot of doors for organizations that just say, I can't afford an LMS, I can't get into e-learning. That's just not the case. If you work with us, we're able to identify just some creative ways to process through that budget conversation.
Yeah. So once we kind of figure out the platform, then we can work on building out some of these application-based scenarios. We're going to show you what one of them looks like. So, in this case, this would be after a learner has absorbed some information, maybe watched a video or read a little bit of information, and then they get presented with a real life challenge that takes the content, and there's, like in real life, there's no one obvious right answer or one necessarily correct way to go about it. And it forces the learner not to just regurgitate back a simple definition to a term that was covered, but it really allows them to take the information that they were presented with, sort through it, make some independent decision, and exercise some judgment, and then in real time, based on that judgment, get feedback. So it's a simple question about, changing daily habits, and how do I go about that? And if you read through these responses, you know, these are all very real life responses that you would get, and you have to make a judgment call on which one would be the best. And typically, when we present this, adult learners are very engaged because it's unexpected to go into an e-learning course and not just to have to answer kind of surface level questions, but to really have to dig in and think about what you would do in that specific scenario.
Yeah, and this is an example of an assessment that doesn't feel like one. And Emily's talked about this with clients, and I love this conversation, which is we need to make sure our learners are understanding the content, but we don't want to present to them a quiz. And so this is a way to have scenario-based interactions and engagement that isn't some obvious test they're taking.
Right. And depending on how they answer, they get that meaningful feedback, and hopefully we'll have learned something from that. So these are just some high level examples of how our clients have used custom e-learning to support their learners and their organizations. We're really proud of the work that we do, and we love the discussion of starting from the perspective of what do you want to accomplish, and let's work backwards from there to build out the e-learning experience to help you get there.
Next time, we're going to be talking about another one of our dignified learning pillars, which is inclusivity. We talk about all of the individual pillars and ideas that bring together a real dignified learning experience. And this is one that is so important, which is including all of your learners and their needs in your experience so that when they show up and take a training, they're feeling represented and included and able to access the content in a way that connects with them personally.
Absolutely. And as always, there is a freebie waiting for you on our website at dignifiedlearning.com in our free resource section. You can click on our pillars and walk through kind of a checklist of things to consider when you're thinking about delving into the world of custom training and thinking about some of the benefits of that.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for your time today. We hope that you got a little couple nuggets of information. And please, again, take advantage of these free resources. We put them out there and we love the feedback that we get from them. And if you've got a moment, you can write on our wall and tell us what a dignified learning experience means to you. We love getting learner feedback that way as well. So thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.